We have a special guest
No,
today.
the mic is right there.
Special guest, Diana from Independence. Hey!
Very gifted radio speaker.
Yeah, somebody likes her radio voice.
Yeah.
Way to go. Now, Diana from Independence is a member of the family just like you.
Yep.
And she was one of our Grill and Chill giveaway winners. So now she's going to get some meat from Duma Meats in Mogador.
Yeah.
Going to get a cake
A
from Nothing
grill.
But Cakes in Strongsville. And a grill from us. It's a Weber tabletop grill. So we're glad you're here. And she inspired today's overtime.
Yeah, where, ironically, we're going to grill her and watch her chill with an answer.
Yes, we are. Well said, Ron Eastwood. I like this bell way too much. I'll calm down with the bell, okay?
Dude. Hello.
I'll calm down. So,
Friday, Mike. Yeah.
you have an interesting story, Diana, and you can reveal as much detail as you want. I know we just throw everything out there. You can be as open as you want. You got married at 18. Any peers your age getting married at 18?
Quite a few, actually.
Really?
Yeah, I'm in the Ukrainian community, so there's maybe like about 20% of people get married around 18.
So in your cultural context, it's not necessarily abnormal? But I think in your age demographic in the country, it's like some people think you're weird.
Yeah.
What kind of things have you heard about getting married at 18?
Are you pregnant?
Oh, yeah.
That's-
No, people ask you that?
Yeah. You know, like, what are you thinking? Obviously, oh, you'll get divorced within 5 years. I got married when I was 18 or whatever. They'll share their own story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's real nice.
So yeah, that was nice to hear. But a lot of people were really supportive. So I mean, you know.
So, I'm glad people were supportive, but why did you think 18 wasn't crazy?
I think I was maybe ready. I don't know. I mean, you can't necessarily be ready for something until you like go through it. So you can't be ready for anything that you haven't necessarily done before.
Okay.
But I don't know. We just felt ready in our relationship, and our parents were cool with it, and we just felt like it was the right time.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah, and see, that's what we're talking about today is how do you know when you're ready to get married? If that's something God has for you, and not everybody needs to get married. Some people are called to be single. Paul was. But I think it's an interesting question everybody grapples with. At some point, every kid will ask their parent, likely, how did you know? Did you ever ask your parents, like, Mom, how did you know Dad was the one?
yeah. Yeah, they met actually when my mom was getting baptized. And my dad, they're Ukrainian, of course, so they came from like a different city, and somehow, like the way that they met, they just knew. Like it wasn't,
They just knew.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's the answer kids hate.
I take it wasn't infant baptism.
No.
But you know, from Ija now, doesn't that make you, like, your son is how old?
16.
Wow.
She got married at,
Couple years.
Oh, yeah.
are you
at
ready for
18.
that?
I am.
No, you're not. Look at you, you
No. Because I've thought of it. But the woman is usually younger. Like, I got married early. I got married at 21, and Len was 24.
Right.
So, although he could be 20, I'm just saying usually, you know, they married.
How old's your
someone-
husband?
He's 26 now, so he was 24 when we got married. Which I
Yeah.
think is-
So I know, like, in less than 10 years, like, I do think that because that's what we did. And Len and I got married super early compared to my peers. And in college, I got a lot of flack and all of that. But what made me sad, more sad than that, was I got flack in the church, you know, and there were, like, church leaders telling me, like, why don't you kind of do like your cousins and go to grad school and all these plans that I'm thinking, like, I expected Christians to encourage my steps versus what I feel was more the world's agenda. Like, you know, like because what I do see in my peers that aren't necessarily Christian is you do pursue and grow your career and do that. That's great. But I expected more encouragement from especially older Christians to say that's great. You could still create your plans and grow together in spite of getting married earlier.
What's interesting, though, is I heard you giving kind of a qualification. Well, I mean, the guy's older, so it's fine. What if your son, when he's 18, meets an 18-year-old girl and they feel ready?
Yeah, that could happen.
We have some close friends with 6 kids. It's not you.
Yeah.
And they got married at 18, like right out of high school. They got married. They got 6 kids. They're doing great.
With that one though, because I have my sons. Well, it will happen with my sons first. My main concern with my husband would be financially. Are you ready to take care? Because even if she works, it is your job to provide for the family. And so I say that because I got married at 21, but Len, because he was 3 years older, had already graduated, was already working. In fact, when we got engaged, he said, before we put a date, I need to move out of my parents' house and get an apartment and prove to myself that I can do this by myself before I take on somebody. That was his way. But what I'm saying is that's important for a man to make sure. That's what my conversation would be with my son at 18. Are you ready to provide
And
the
yet
way you're supposed to?
I've met couples who know the college debt crisis, that they intentionally don't fear the idea of being all ready with a career because they can get so much more grants and financial aid when you make nothing.
Yeah.
And you live a poor life as a college student together.
Yeah.
Rather than under your parents' roof.
And it doesn't
So you
even
don't
have to
have to
be
have a job to
college.
get
It doesn't
married?
even have to. You don't have to have a job to get married.
Well, you should be working, definitely.
You should be working, but you don't have to have
like a career.
A career.
some sort of like
no, that's not what I
established
meant.
career.
Yeah, I meant can you provide? Period. Because once you get married, you got to be open to the possibility she can get pregnant.
But what's
Yeah.
interesting though
You know?
is you're actually, and I'm not saying this is wrong. I'm just saying our question is how do you know when you're ready to get married? And you're saying you're ready when you can support yourself.
As a man, you are ready when you can provide for your family.
What about as a woman?
When you can cook.
That's what that sounds like though. It does. I get your
Good
point.
answer.
I'm not certain I'm ready to go with you on the when you're ready to take care of yourself.
Dude, you can have a kid. My sons, Len's conversation with my sons is y'all better be ready to take care of your family. I don't care, and this is what he would say. It could be working as a plumber, whatever it is
Sure.
you're gonna do. Come on, Brian.
No, I'm not saying that you need to think you don't need to take care of yourself. I think that you need to display the quality of understanding the responsibility it takes and knowing you're going to need to be a provider. Someone will have to provide, or you have to provide together.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have to be there. You have to have the disposition and attitude of knowing what it takes.
Okay, so
provide.
explain to me. You don't have to be there. So, mind you, we could have 16-year-olds we're having conversations like this with. So you're going to tell them you don't have to be there. What does that mean?
Still living at mom and dad's house.
Not doing anything.
And
You're not displaying maturity at that point.
yeah, if you haven't moved out, you might have the right mindset. You might think you know what you're doing. You may be working and saving money instead of spending it on rent and stuff. But there will be new experiences of it being your place. It's not mom and dad's place where I live. I am responsible for the roof leaks or the washing machine starts spewing bubbles all over the place.
Yeah.
And you can't say, Mom, there's a problem, but you got to do it. And that's different.
But what are you going to say when your kid comes to you and says, Mom, I'm 18, she's 18, we love each other, we feel ready to get married, her parents are going to let us live in their basement while we figure stuff out, get a job.
Right, okay.
Not you're going to say no?
No,
You're not ready?
No. It depends the child. Like if my oldest son Isaiah, because I know him, if he said that, I've known couples, oh my gosh, that have done that, or a couple that did that. They both had strong careers. They were younger, stayed with their parents, and saved up, and had a down payment on an amazing house in an amazing neighborhood, and put their kids in public school because the schools were amazing.
But that's not
so
what
it
I'm
can
talking
make a
about.
difference. Right. I'm just saying, if you're gonna do something like that, live in somebody's basement. My discussion with my child would be, okay, well, what's the plan?
Yeah, because
You know,
if you
it's
say no,
attendance.
that
yeah.
relationship with your kid could be over. When they're 18, do you really have permission to disallow them from
No,
getting
you don't
married?
have permission to disallow. But if you've established a relationship with your child, I think you have permission to engage in their decision making, and you have influence.
So, Diana, how did you know you were ready at 18 to get married? It's a hard question.
It is, because it's hard to put into words. I'm not really sure. It was just, I mean, I had taken baptism. I was, walking with the Lord, and I started college, and I like what this reader said here, that a woman needs to be prepared to support and allow a man to lead. And I think there's a certain maturity and humility that comes with that you have to be able to submit, like the church submits to Christ, And I think, I don't know, once I realized that, what's the word for, it's not synonym, but
An antonym or something, or parallel, or
the symbolism. There it is, like the symbolism of Christ in the church and husband and wife, and it just, I don't know, it flows from that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And you just felt at peace with all of that.
Yeah.
But there is some point where you just kind of go, I'll never know if I'm ready.
Yeah.
I'm feeling
Exactly.
peace. Here we go.
Yeah, and just trusting God while you go through it. I think.
Somebody said it's also about, Deborah says, have to know the reason for getting married too. It's not an escape from a current situation. Because I know I have influence with my children, with my son, my conversation would also be with him. Like the discussion of what marriage, especially this early. If you're just trying to get married just because you want to be intimate, we need to discuss the whole reason of, like, for example, are you ready for like a baby next year? That's
Right.
a possibility. Are we ready for that mentally, financially? And like you said, you can't say don't do it, but you can throw things at them to say, okay, chew on this, and then if you're ready, let's go.
I just think it's so easy to create these boxes that when you're 18, they don't make any sense.
So how
Like, he needs to have a career, you need to understand
That is a
submission,
career.
and you need to be ready to have a kid in a year or two. You need to,
Yeah.
like, a lot of situations don't fit that. So how do you know
Yes,
you're ready?
true.
That's true.
How did you know you're ready to marry Dana? Because you're in a unique situation where Dana had,
Yeah.
she was a widow.
Yeah. I got married young at 29.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm basically 29 right now. So.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I guess, I'd been pursuing a radio career. I'd been living away from the house for 5 or 6 years. And it would always be at least one other guy. We would rent a house, 2, 3, however many we could fit in there, keep the expenses down, which was also in a way helpful with learning to get along with other people, because we, the same as a husband and wife, we had come with different expectations of how we're going to put things away, who's going to clean, is anybody going to clean, with guys. But yeah, I got to the point, I guess I was starting to think, okay, if I'm going to have kids, I'm going to be in my early 30s at this point, and that means, like, when they're graduating, I'm going to be about 50. And do I want to be the grandpa? At that point, that's how I viewed it, the grandpa at graduation. Now I think 50, youngster.
Well, see, what's interesting is your readiness sounds more like tangible, practical. Like, I know how to take care of myself. I don't want to be too old when I have kids, so I'm ready.
Yeah.
When women talk about it, it's less practical, right? It's more emotional, intellectual, like.
Well, they want the man practically ready. The man has to have, and
Yeah,
I agree
that's
with
true.
you.
Yeah.
The man has to be ready to provide and understand that if you're going to be intimate, 9 months later you might have a little child, and that baby cries and it poops its diaper, and
A lot.
all that stuff goes on, and that's going to be a couple years of changing diapers, and think about these things.
Yeah.
And so you want the man to be rational and not be thinking, well, I'll have my boys and we'll be golfing Saturday, we'll be
Yeah.
hanging out bowling.
And
we'll
my
be-
girl at home cooking.
But this is why, Ron and I are the ideal catch.
Ideal.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Sorry, everybody else, but
My wife commented, "What you gonna do about that?"
She sure did. She says,
My
what
wife.
if you feel that God is calling you to marry? Do you need to wait for all the worldly things to line up first?
Go ahead, answer that. I'd love to hear your answer to my wife's question.
Worldly. First of all, let's define that.
Worldly?
Yeah.
it would be American ideals of car, job,
Okay.
Well,
goals,
job is
education.
biblical.
Okay, so for example,
Man,
yeah,
be
I mean-
provider.
Yeah, but
That's
okay,
where
so
I'm going.
career.
that's where I'm going.
Degree.
We
Go to be a
didn't. We
camel or
didn't wait
something.
for that.
Right.
What the church was telling me to do is, why are you doing that? You could, like, you have so much to give. Develop your career. And I didn't go that route. I went with where God was taking us. Where I did go, and where Len did say, hold up, before we set a date, I need to make sure I can provide for you. That's biblical, and that's what my conversation with my sons would be. Sons only because the girls are little, but you need, in being a godly husband, you need to make sure you can provide.
And see,
that's, yeah.
I'm looking at, I know my wife is thinking even like, what do you mean by provide? Because the American ideal of provide is different than the rest of the world would see it.
Yeah, that's true.
In theory, you could have a job at a fast food restaurant
In theory, yeah.
and find a way to provide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
wouldn't
with
have
government
much.
assistance.
that's
and-
true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or you could maybe have a job that doesn't have much growth, and you're
Yes.
going to just make it. You're
Yeah.
going to have enough to have a roof over your head and eat.
And some girls, women will be okay with that because they're so starstruck. But I know a lot of women who are very practical, and they're like, look, I don't see a future, and I don't want to be in that situation the rest of my life. So shape up or ship out, which is your right to do, women, because you hold the cards. I mean, if the guy wants you and wants you to be the queen of his life, then he better make himself right.
But I think Sarah's trying to force us to peel back those layers and go, what does make you ready to be married? Now, practically speaking, as a dad and a husband, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
But what defines readiness? And how do we separate American cultural ideal from readiness for the Christian?
So those vows you make, are you ready to actually hold them? And think about that when you're in not an emotionally, like,
Right.
you don't really like your spouse, but you think back, okay, I said for sickness and in health, and for better or for worse. So how about that? That's not a very emotionally high place, maybe.
No.
But you're ready to just go through that and say, okay, Lord, I, made this commitment before you, before my family, and before my husband. And
Yeah.
if you're ready to say that, I think you're ready.
And then what's crazy is when you encounter one of those situations, you realize you're actually not ready.
That's true.
Because it's hard when your spouse has the flu and they're puking everywhere to deal with life, and you get frustrated and you're, But you're right. I think that there has to be a point where you're ready to accept that, where you're ready to go, yes, I can be with you in the lows and in sickness. I can do that. I want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? What are you thinking over there?
No, I just looked.
You want everybody to have a career.
No, I didn't. I didn't. When
I know
got
you were
married.
having a great time.
I didn't, and this is how I was. And Jeffrey's saying he can't believe that I was encouraged in church to develop your career. It's that, and I wanna take away the word church. I'm saying from Christians.
Yeah.
We've bought into the whole American idealism and the worldly kind of success thing. I heard it when I got married early. I heard it when I had a bunch of kids and gave up my career to homeschool because the Lord was asking me to, and it was the whole it was the worldly thing. I fall into that. I think we can fall into that, and just being mindful of what we're encouraging people to, because you're sending the wrong message.
Well, and on top of that, we always think the present moment we're woke in the church, right? 2 years ago, Diana was asked those questions.
Yeah.
Like rude questions.
Yeah.
Oh, you must be pregnant. That's why you're
Yes.
getting married at 18. How rude is that?
Yeah.
Did you hear any of those from, with it being as anonymous as possible, were any of those awkward questions from Christian people?
No, no.
Oh, that's
no,
good.
like at my work or school.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
mainly what I heard.
Good.
That's good.
I'm glad by that. But those questions still come up.
So then, my only problem right now with you, because he's
You only got one problem? I feel like I won today.
Right now.
One problem.
So
Right
if you have your son sit with you and say, okay, I believe the Lord's telling me to get married, the conversation is over. There's no, in terms of being the
No.
what, you could
not
be
over.
like, okay, cool, the God told
It's
me,
not what I
okay,
would
you'll
say.
figure it out, go.
What is the minimum requirement for a Christian spouse? I have an answer. Do you?
Minimum requirement
Yeah,
to serve the Lord, to be equally yoked to.
that's right.
Yep.
My first question would be, do they love Jesus? Yeah, Dad, they do. How do you know?
Their fruit.
Yeah, and we talk about it.
Yeah.
And I go, then you're set up for success.
Okay, and so they're 18. If that answer is yes, then they can go. No wisdom, no input from you. You would just be like, okay,
I didn't
go.
say that.
No, because
I
we're
said
saying
at 18, I can destroy a relationship with my kid if I start adding any Jesus plus anything else in that situation. If I'm like, well, son, you don't have a career yet. You're still in college. I don't support your marriage today. You need to wait until you're done with college.
Now, why do you
Parents
always go to
say
the
that.
extreme?
No, but
Yeah.
parents say stuff like that.
Yeah, I know that.
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
tell you, that I wouldn't say that.
It's
I would
how
ask
we
questions
say it.
about, I would say, so you understand you got to provide, so what's your plan?
Right.
Right.
I think mentioning that, just consider this. Not
Yeah,
necessarily that you
exactly.
have to do it, but consider. You need to have a job. You need to, go to college. Just consider these things.
Yeah, get that training. Have you thought through this?
Mm-hmm.
But the minute they say that the person is committed to the Lord and they love Jesus, I
Mm-hmm.
can't get in their way.
No, you can't get in their way, but I
I can
think
only encourage and
providing
guide.
guidance and wisdom, I think, is good, and it's our job as parents.
But you better be able to provide. Is
Why does it
one
have to
way
be
to say it.
Why does it have to be? You better be able to provide. It doesn't have to be said that way.
How does it said then?
Kinda
No,
like
this is
what-
really practical and good. How should it be said?
Are you ready to provide for your wife?
Yeah.
And
What are your plans?
Future children?
Right.
And so what if your
Come
kid
on.
says, oh yeah, I'm ready for that. And
Okay,
and
let's
you
talk
don't
about
think
it.
they are.
Well, ask them to explain how. What are your plans? How do you
Because
see that?
to be honest, the father-in-law gets to the point where he's like, "I'm not helping you. Like, don't you ain't coming back."
Yeah.
But that's
You know,
not
that-
true though. He would.
He would. I'm just saying, if it's negligence and laziness and, it's very important to remind our sons, and again, I can relate to that more because my sons are teenagers.
Right.
You're a provider. You have to be responsible. It is your household. Like, he tries to instill in them, you're responsible. This is your deal.
Yeah.
And this whole, like, we're not playing games. This isn't like, so like, in terms of having them consider the weight of their decision, that's, I think, our job as parents.
Did you
So that's
see
why I
Michelle
don't want to
well?
go too much to okay, go ahead. Wait.
Michelle.
My
Oh,
7 and
That's Sheila. Michelle. One more.
which one? Okay, I think Brian is saying, choose your words in order to retain your relationship with your adult children.
Yes.
I agree.
Yes, Michelle.
I agree.
It's exactly my point. It's that
Yeah.
we think when our kids are 18, like you were, Diana, we don't have that permission anymore, I don't think, even if they're under our roof, to start dictating to them when they're going to make those life decisions.
Yeah.
We have to let go. We can guide. I'm not there yet. Trust me, I won't like it if my kid doesn't seem ready.
Yeah.
But if they found another believer, I trust that God's going to work it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And it might be hard for them. I don't want that. But maybe they'll grow in the pain.
Yeah, I agree. Sheila says something. She says my 7 and 5-year-old girls, my girls are 7 and 5, are ready to get married. Always telling me how they're going to marry. At least they know their boyfriends need to love Jesus.
Yeah?
My 5-year-old constantly tells me, I can't wait till I have my babies, and I'm gonna have my
Aw.
babies. And then she says, Mommy, can you just live down the street from me? And so she's making all her plans.
And little boys want to marry their mothers.
What? Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of my sons
It's a whole
said that.
Oedipus thing.
Yeah, one of my sons said that. But what I wanted to encourage parents out there that I wish I would have heard as a young woman planning for marriage. School and college taught me to get ready for a job, and I wish in that equation there would have been a consideration of, what if I stay home? What are careers that maybe I can do from home? Like, I look at some of my friends that are doing journalism. I had a friend that stayed home, and he was a journalist and worked from home. And
Sarah
I was
had
a
the same question.
mechanical engineer, and it's like not family friendly. And if I would have at least been told, put your family and family friendliness in terms of career into the equation, it would have impacted a lot. So,
Sarah would cheer for you in that. She's gone as far as, she's sometimes gone, I don't know why I went to college.
exactly.
I'm glad she did in hindsight. It's good that she did. And she's seeing that now. But yeah, the openness to that idea. So what's Diana's advice for the young people, 18, 19, 20, everyone's telling them they're too young to get married. Any words of wisdom? It's putting you on the spot, which is not
Yeah.
fair to you. But
I think just love God and trust, if your significant other does love God and you can see the fruits of that. Did you ask if they're considering getting married or
yeah,
if they're like
everybody's telling them they're crazy. You're too young.
okay. If you think that you're ready and you feel that, God is calling you to marriage, then just trust God in it. And I think a lot of, like it says, God causes all things to work together for his children. So just trust in that. And it really is a process of, you're really, once you get married, you're just kind of on your own, and you really do need to learn how to trust God. And I think if you're ready to do that, go ahead.
And I think Dia
if you have your
is with
parents'
you.
blessing.
Dia said that her husband and her got married when they were both 19.
Oh, that's
awesome.
cool. Carrie says, for me, marriage, it was a hard thing. We married at 24 and just celebrated our 36th anniversary.
Ooh,
He moved
very
from
nice.
Ohio to Texas and was working, and I came to join him after marriage. We built our life with barely anything, which we loved. We had a new waterbed, a hand-me-down sofa,
Waterbed.
and an ironing board to eat off of as our table, plus a handful of other things, and we survived. He was just starting his career, and I soon got a job. No home or material objects needed. We truly loved one another, and we did not want to live without one another.
Carrie said what I was trying to say in a much better way. Thank you, Carrie, for that. They had an ironing board to eat on, and that's all they needed to get started.
Yeah.
I think far too often the lie of the world is
Yep.
that you need all these things to be ready.
Yeah.
And I think Diana's bringing us the truth on this.
Yes, she is.
Special thanks to Diana from Independence. Our special guest today. Diana, thanks again. Congratulations on being a Grill and Chill giveaway winner. We're grateful that that you let us just throw you in the fire here for quite a while.
good.
You did great. Thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Everybody have a great weekend. Don't forget tomorrow.
Convoy of Hope.
Convoy of Hope. We're going to be there. We're going to see you. And if you want to volunteer, text the word HOPE. We're still looking for you. HOPE to 440-546-2255.
And brand new podcast.
Yeah.
In 28 minutes.
Very good. If you're struggling with anxiety or know someone that does, our conversation with Crystal Kershaw from Fieldstone Counseling will really bless you. What does a Christian do if you're struggling with anxiety?
See you later, people. Love you.
Bye.
Bye. Diana's the best. Yay, Diana.